Hello, happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to make sure real quick that this is actually functioning properly because I feel like we look a little bit frozen. So it might just be, oh, I'm looking at the wrong screen. That would be why. Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is my friend Patty Sloan that I'm so excited to introduce you to and have her share her story because you really need to pay attention. I'm telling you, you need to pay attention to her story so you don't repeat some of the same mistakes that she made previously. And this is why she does what she does. And she's going to explain some of that as well. So again, this is Patty Sloan, and I'm going to read you her adorable little bio that I love so much. Okay. So Patty is a coach, a speaker, and an entrepreneur. Patty founded Patty Sloan Coaching LLC, where she is focused on helping people create clarity and balance in their life. As a highly sought after one-on-one coach, group instructor, trainer, and speaker, she's had the honor of coaching people to create radical success in their life. Patty has witnessed people take their coaching tools and techniques shared through her programs and trainings and completely transform their life, becoming more confident, empowered, clear, and balanced. And who doesn't need that? Like, raise your hand. As an integrative wellness and life coach, she uses a holistic and integrative approach towards wholeness and balance, taking the traditional foundation of life coaching and integrating it with a diverse range of healing modalities to help clients achieve overall wellness. And that's actually one of the reasons that I connect with her so well is that I also look at the holistic person. I look at body, soul, and spirit. I'm not just interested in how to nourish the body with food or how to take care of our skin via skincare. Like that's not the totality of it. I want to help people. I want to empower women to take back power in their health so that they can thrive in every area of health so that you can experience wellness in body, soul, and spirit. And so I'm super excited to have her share her story with you. I know, Patty, that back in the day, before you ever jumped into this line of business, you made all kinds of mistakes that led you to where you are today. And I feel like the vast majority of people, I feel like I could be mistaken, but most people don't begin to implement changes in their life until they're faced with chronic illness. And so they're faced with disease, cancer, whatever, right? And you don't have to wait, friends. You do not have to wait until you have disease knocking at your door. You can start taking steps now, learn from the mistakes that we've made so that you don't have to be presented with those same situations. So yeah, Patty, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and jump into, the prehistory before we dive into like the meat of the story.
Oh, absolutely. Lily, thank you so much for inviting me into the group, and hello, everybody. So thank you. It's such an honor and a privilege to be talking with you today. And yes, Lily, just like you said, unfortunately, we wait till something dramatic typically happens in our life before we decide to make changes. And my role and purpose in life now is to kind of help people understand you don't have to wait to that point, that you can take charge of your life. So we'll get into how to do that in a little bit. But yeah, I was the proverbial woman, right? I was a mom, I worked full time, and just was really kind of going at life really hard. I had a very dysfunctional childhood, so I had a lot of emotional baggage that I was unaware of. Just basically the way I would describe my life is I was gutting through life, like just going hard at it, trying to be perfect in every area of my life, and thought I was succeeding, but clearly not. The first indication that something was wrong was basically back in, there was indications before, but in 2012, I was totally fatigued, like non-functioning, really having a hard time getting out of bed, the whole shebang, and wound up after multiple doctors finding out that I had chronic fatigue syndrome. And basically what that is that every functioning system within my body, my adrenal system, my lymphatic system, my circulatory system, digestive, you name it, was non-functioning. The doctor kind of said, she goes, I liken it to being suicidal. She says, nothing is working right. You're so out of balance. And I was excited. I finally had a name for how I was feeling. And so she just kind of threw some supplements at me. She said, change your diet and you'll be perfectly fine. So for 6 weeks, I kind of did that, started to feel better. And then went right back into my old habits.
Mhm.
And in that period between then and then in 2018, when I was diagnosed with cancer, so about a 6-year period, a lot was going on. I have 2 older babies, right? So they were transitioning out of high school into college and into real life. I was becoming an empty nester. My marriage, in all honesty, was falling apart. I was on the verge of divorce. So to say that things were just really, out of control would be an understatement. So in 2016, really, I hit rock bottom. I didn't know where else to turn. Like I said, on the verge of divorce, feeling like physically, mentally, emotionally, just done. And so a friend of mine was a life coach. I didn't know what that was. And so I reached out to her and said, listen, can you help me? Like, can you help me save my marriage? And her words to me were, I can't help you save your marriage, but I can help you. And that was my, first introduction into really diving into all that was going on, all that I was creating in my life. But even in the midst of doing the healing work, the growth work during working with her, my husband lost his job. And then, we had another major family crisis. His father passed away. So we had a year of estate issues with family. That's another whole lie, right? So I was trying to deal with my own personal things, trying to be supportive of what was going on in my marriage. And it was overwhelming, to the point where,
It's a lot.
it is a lot. And, but again, the way I learned to deal with things was you just kept going. You just kept going. There's no room for resting, relaxation, no figuring it out. You just go. You just go, go, go. And then in 2018, I found a lump in July. And in all honesty, I didn't think too much about it. I was like, oh, okay. Went to my PCP in September. She said, oh, something's there, but I don't think it's anything big. And then, of course, had a mammogram in October, which, of course, had the mammogram. Then the same day had a ultrasound, and they're like, oh, you need to come back. I did a biopsy 2 days later. And less than 24 hours, I got the diagnosis that I had breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So in all honesty, again, the mental state that I was in, I don't know that I really comprehended what that meant. It was like, oh, okay, now what? Like, it was like, what are we doing? It wasn't like, oh my gosh, it was just this, all right, tell me what I need to do and I'm going to do it because I need to move on with my life, which is that's just a trauma response right there. But, the good Lord was with me during that whole time. Earlier in 2018, let me just back up a little bit. I was on the path to become a life coach. The person I was working with had influenced me so much that I thought, this is what I'm meant to do in this life. So I actually launched a business called the Full Life Organizer the beginning of October in 2018. And then 2 weeks later, literally, is when I was diagnosed. And what I really come to conclude is that for me and my spiritual walk is that God was like, listen, you're on the right path, but you need a little bit more for where I need you to go. So diagnosis, wound up with surgery in December of 2018, which removed the cancer. And what was really interesting during the next couple months. So once, I don't know if any of your people watching or who are going to watch this, if you've been through the process, which of course that was the first major thing I've ever had in my life as far as a physical thing, short of being in the hospital for my babies, I really just felt like a sheep, like whatever they told me I needed to do, I was going to do, but that goes against my grain. Mm-hmm. So I felt like the Spirit kept poking me shortly after the surgery, because what happened is once they took the tumor out, my surgeon was like, I think we're good. I think you're just going to need radiation, 20 treatments just to be sure, and you'll be good to go. And I was like, thank you. Like, whoo, this is nothing, right? 20 treatments of radiation, ignorant on my part, and went to see the radiologist. So you have to see a medical oncologist, right? So I had scheduled that appointment, took a couple of weeks to get into that. And when I saw her, this was the first red flag. She, didn't say anything. She was very businesslike. And she's like, I think you're going to need chemotherapy. And I'm like, oh no, the surgeon said I just need radiation and I'm good to go. She goes, no, you're going to need chemotherapy, without any test results in front of her. That was her
Wow.
go-to. And I was
Yeah.
kind of stunned by that, right? That was the first moment where I'm like, wait, this something's not right here. But she goes, I'm going to do a few more tests. And in 2 weeks, we'll have the results and then I'll give you my recommendation. So I brought my husband to that appointment with me. And yeah, what they do is they, dive into your tumor and get more information. And it turned out it was stage 2, a highly aggressive cancer, estrogen positive, which I had known. And she's like, I'm going to recommend 16 rounds of chemo and 20 rounds of radiation. And you're sitting there getting that news and you're in a fog, like your brain isn't functioning because you're trying to absorb what's actually going on. And then what they do, there's no question. It's like, this is what you're going to do. And they rushed me off to another room. And I met with the person to describe what drugs they were going to give me, a nurse who was going to say, you're going to get this all done. So what happened is that was on a Thursday. By Monday, I'm having 2 tests for your heart and a bone density scan to be sure that you're healthy enough to handle the chemo. By Tuesday, in the surgery room, getting a port put in, which is where they administer the drugs through, so they're not constantly doing an IV. And by Thursday, I had my first chemo therapy.
Wow.
Right. So that to me right away was like, from the get-go, I'm like, this is wrong. My intuition kept telling me it was wrong, but I'm in the throes of it, right? So I did it. I did all 16 treatments, but as I'm going through that, I just kept getting clearer and clearer that, you know what, I don't care what comes after this, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing post-cancer drugs. This is not the path for me. The naturopathic route is where I want to be, the holistic route. And so I went through radiation. For the most part, did really well, but there are, of course, side effects, right? Of course, lost my hair and wound up with neuropathy, which is the ends of your hands and toes. You're in a lot of pain. It's just a lot of nerve damage from drugs. So let me just stop here and slow down a minute. Chemotherapy is really basically poison in your body. And so for me, I don't want to, this is my journey, and I don't want anybody to say, oh, it's right or wrong or yes or no. For me, this is what they recommended. This is what I chose to do. If I had to do it again, I would not. But again, that's my journey. So again, I'm not saying medical advice here. I just want to put that out there. But for me, I just knew the whole time, I'm like, it just didn't feel right.
I mean, yes, it's going to kill the cancer cells, but it's also going to kill pretty much everything else in your body. It is so, yeah. And I get it, you got to do whoever's, you guys are watching. I'm sure everybody here knows somebody who has been diagnosed with cancer. Maybe you yourself have gone through this. My mom had cancer twice. And I lost a dear, dear friend to stage 4 bone cancer. I had another really close friend of mine that was also diagnosed with stage 4 bone cancer. Praise God, she is a walking testimony of God's goodness. Now, she kind of did the 2. She followed the Western recommendations, but simultaneously, she was refueling her body and nourishing her body holistically. So in her journey, she merged the 2. She married both of the modalities. Yes. Anyhow, yeah, continue. It's such a
well, story. And so I wish I had known that. I didn't know to do it during it, because they really were, at least in my experience, they're like, no supplements, no nothing, no, like, it was pretty, there was these rules, we followed the rules, and that was it. And I'm a rule follower. But when I got into the radiation, I started researching some things, because again, they do post-cancer drugs, and what the post-cancer drugs do in my case, for the estrogen, right? It blocks the estrogen so that you don't have cancer again. But the side effects of those drugs are horrific, especially I'm postmenopausal because of my age. So the big thing is stroke is the #1 side effect. Hello. And then the second one is a lot of stiff joints and body part, like it's just, you're always in.
Wow.
And so again, not knowing, I wanted to wait to take it. My oncologist pushed it, and she was a very fear-based doctor, meaning, hey, you got to do this or this is what's going to happen. And I wasn't educated enough. So I went down during radiation. I started the Arimidex, and oh my gosh, I was in agony. Did that for 6 weeks, took myself off it. I'm like, nope. She talked me into trying a second drug because she's like, well, different drugs have different effects. And I'm like, okay. But again, my intuition is I know. And during this process of coming off of radiation and then shifting over to a holistic naturopathic route, I was doing major research and seeing what my options were.
Mhm.
So did the second drug within 3 weeks, same side effects. I'm like, I'm done. I washed my hands of all the drugs. I told my oncologist that she and I started having a lot of not alignment. She would not comprehend what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I just found a naturopathic doctor, just a regular doctor here in Pittsburgh. And she's like, you're out of my wheelhouse. And she recommended this amazing naturopathic oncologist in Arizona.
Wow.
It took me 2 months to reach him, but in the interim, I started shifting out of all the toxicity that was in my life, started a more plant-based whole foods diet, because truthfully, before then, I lived on bagels and iced tea.
At least it wasn't meat and potatoes. It was bagels and iced tea.
Yeah, I don't know that was any better from Panera, but I didn't eat real food at all. And what
didn't you tell me at one point, and maybe you're going to get to this, but that you basically felt that the reason you ended up where you were as far as cancer is concerned is because of toxic overload to your body. And at that point, it was the naturopathic oncologist that basically agreed with you, like, yes, toxic overload is what got you here.
Yeah, so we'll dive right into that. So yeah, my lifestyle, in December when I had the surgery, I was working with a coach at the time, a different coach. And when I told her what was going on, her words to me were, you created this. And she didn't say it in a way to be hurtful. It was more of, you understand that disease just doesn't show up in your body, that whatever you were doing helped create this. And it always was in the back of my mind. So that's why as soon as I was done, I'm like, all right, I got to start making some major life shifts. And then in the research, toxicity is one of the main contributing factors to a lot of disease, right, in the body, particularly cancer. And so as I researched more of that, and then finally had my appointment with the naturopath oncologist, he ran the blood test that this gentleman ran initially. He goes, I got to see what your toxic load is. So it turned out I was okay. I wasn't horrible, but of course I wasn't clean either. And totally agreed. He's like, you know what, the toxicity in your life between the chemicals on your body, what you're putting in your body. I mean, I was doing 6 sweetened lows a day in my iced teas. Okay, I knew on some level that rats got cancer from having that, but you think like the human, at least I'm like, oh, that's not me. That's not me. You're kind of in denial. So as soon as I met with him, I felt like I had somebody in my camp, someone who understood what I wanted to do in terms of, I want to do this naturally. I want to make sure I prevent it. And to me, it needed to be changed. I needed to kind of have a sweeping change in my lifestyle. So number one, yes, what I ate, what was going in my body needed to be real whole foods, which I'm going to tell you for me is a struggle because I hate veggies on every level. I'm not really like, I eat some meats, but I really, again, I was more of just a habit, lots of sugar, so I was very inflamed. I had a lot of inflammatory issues, blah, blah, blah. But what I learned is, okay, I can drink my veggies. So I do blood patty potion, right? So I have all these super greens. And so I can incorporate that into my diet plan currently. So yeah, toxicity was huge. It was even what I was putting on my body. To understand that the skin is the biggest organ you have, I started looking at my water, which, has toxic. I was drinking out of and it's safe, right, out of your tap, but no. So I used to use a Brita, and I'm like, Brita doesn't cut it. So did some research into really highly, really good. It's a pitcher I put in my fridge, but it gets rid of 300 different toxins and elements that shouldn't be in your water. So I, drink clean water. I use as much clean product as I can, which is how I actually found MIG. And because as soon as I was done with treatment, of course, I have no hair, my nails, your skin is, and I was looking for a collagen. I was just looking for something to grow my hair back and came across the MIG website, fell in love with it. I'm like, I'll try it. And instantly, like, people are like, your hair's growing back so fast. And I'm like, I know, right? My skin healed because, you know, you get a lot of issues again from it can take up to 2 years, 18 months to 2 years for the chemo to actually get out of your body,
Right.
because it just permeates every part of your cells. So, you know, I realized that as soon as I started shifting into this more natural, more holistic health, you know, and wellness, um, path, that I really started feeling well quickly. Like
Right.
I wasn't taking, of course, all the
You
poison.
were you were able to accelerate the healing process because our bodies were designed to heal themselves if we give them the right things.
Absolutely spot on, right? So you know, I got all my blood work back. He's like, you're in great shape. And what I love with working with this particular doctor was, which in the Western, and again, I can't speak to everyone, but in my experience, your blood work after you're done is they have one blood test. It's called the C15, and they test it. And depending, as long as it stays below 32, they're like, you're good. Like, they just kind of let you go. Like, I was done with treatment and I was gone. Like, nobody really cared what was how I was going to show up every 3 to 6 months. And that was it. And I'm like, this is not okay. You can't just leave me hanging. But this gentleman runs, it's called a biopsy test, and it's a circulating tumor test. So you go and you have this test, and any kind of cell or cancer cell floating in your body, it will detect. So
Wow.
I do my mammogram now once a year, right? And then 6 months later, I do the biopsy test. So I'm checking every 6 months to be sure that the path I'm on is keeping me cancer free, which, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion and my experience, is that I did create the disease based on my lifestyle. And yes, it is about what goes in your body, on your body, but it's also what you're thinking.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
The mind is so powerful, your thought processes, and then of course my emotional body was, you know, I had never healed from just things from my
Past
childhood.
trauma. Yeah.
Right? So all of that, it was like kind of the perfect storm. And I will sit here and tell you, I am so grateful for the journey. I don't want to do it again. But what it did was refine that fact that, yep, I want to be a life coach. And that's how the integrative part came into it, because I'm like, listen, I can help people, but I want to help them understand that they need to be in balance. So I teach now based on that journey, and then doing all the work that your mental body, your physical body, your emotional body, and your spiritual body need to be in balance. Because typically one or two are out of balance. So for me, my emotional body was probably the most out of balance, which then created the mental body being out of balance. And those two being so strong created issues in the physical body, right? So the physical, the cancer for me showed up as a result of the imbalances that were going on. So I have now spent the last almost 3 years coming back into balance. I have not done it perfectly. I'm going to put that out there, right? I'm a human being. My goal is 85% of the time I'm spot on. I eat well, I make really good decisions and choices, and I still have a piece of cake if I want to, here and there. It's not like it's this locked in, rigid lifestyle.
Sure.
You want to live your life.
Yes.
What's interesting again is I was on that in that mental space, like, whoo, I was feeling great. My blood work was matching everything. My naturopath oncologist, two things he said. One, when he looked at all of my records, he was overwhelmed by the amount of chemo. He's like, that seems like a really aggressive process for you to have gone through based on what I'm seeing, which was kind of my gut feeling, like, this seems like over the top for what's going on. But I was ignorant and just gave all my power to the person in the white coat.
Right.
I don't do that anymore. I'm in charge of me. Lovely person. She let me just back up by saying, you know, she's not a horrible person. She does what she does from the information she has.
Right.
My goal is to say, listen, we're all empowered. We have all these other options, and holistic naturopathic can be, as your friend did, in combination with that, right? There are people who need chemo and radiation and medicines to heal their body. Absolutely, I'm not opposed to that. My goal is to prevent that moving forward through natural
Absolutely.
source.
Yeah. That's
So
so good. Really quick, like for those of you who are watching, and I was thinking about even Chris Work. So those who don't know, Chris Work, this was, I don't even know, like 10 years ago, whenever that was. He was in his mid-20s, diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, which at that point for a male, that's like a death sentence. It's like, well, we're just gonna watch you die. We'll give you chemotherapy to extend your life for like another year, but we're just gonna watch you, fade away basically. And so he really felt led of the Lord to restore his body, to restore his health holistically through eating raw foods. That's where it began. Now, he doesn't still eat just raw foods, but that's what he needed to do at the time to nourish his cells with the fuel that they needed to combat the cancer. And here he is, however many, at least a decade, if not longer later, telling the story. He never did do radiation. He didn't do chemotherapy. He healed his body via the things that he was doing. And he says very bluntly, I mean, he's not trying to be rude or harsh, but he's just saying, you hear the statement all the time that everything happens for a reason. He said, but I'm here to tell you, you are that reason. I mean, we do so many things ignorantly, or like you said, we think, oh, it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. I mean, the rats might be dying from sugar overload, whatever, whatever it is, but it's not going to happen to me until it does, right? Or until it happens to somebody close to you. And so this is just about you being empowered with the right tools and the right information so that you can prevent that from happening. But if that does happen, that you know that there's options.
yes. So, and thank you for bringing up Chris, because why I was waiting to meet with my naturopath oncologist. And again, I felt very much led. I went to a naturopathic doctor and she was so good. She's like, this is not my wheelhouse. This is who you need to go. And he is around the country, this place in Arizona is really like, they're kind of top notch in what they do. But I came across, again, MIG was one, and then of course Chris Work, and I still love Chris. And I'm laughing because sitting right here is Chris's his new cookbook.
Yes.
And I believe everything Chris stands for. I did his square one program. Like I was writing all the information down because that was not my forte. So I just wanted someone, I think it was 2004. You're absolutely right. And I thought, here's a guy who's done all the research. I love what he stands for. I believe what he's telling me, and I have implemented a lot of what he has shared and continues to share. I follow him faithfully, because again, that's his niche. This is his gig. And
he walked the walk. Yeah, he's already done it.
Right. So I'm in total agreement, right? Things happen for a reason. This happened in my life because I think for me, my path, God was like, yes, I want you to be a life coach, but I want you to share your journey with women in particular to say, listen, you need to take self-care. You have to understand that when you have that first little whatever, not to say it would, but in 2012, had I listened to my body, which was basically shut down, maybe I could have prevented the cancer, maybe not, but I didn't make enough. It was just like, oh, okay, I feel better. And then I'm back on the treadmill, right? So the integrative part where, so I have 2 certifications, one in life coaching and then into integrative wellness, is because I'm like, listen, we need to get it all in balance. And it's not hard. It takes commitment, it takes habit, it takes consistency, it takes a willingness to say, I'd rather sit and make a salad every day versus the easy way out. And that was me. I'm going to admit, I'm a lazy cook. I'm a lazy, right? So, okay, if I have to get greens in me, my matcha, my, whatever, kale, okay, I'm going to just juice it and drink it. And I'm good with that. Maybe Chris.
No, that's so true. I always tell people like, hey, listen, if you're not a fan of vegetables, and this is going to be a hard adjustment, it was for me and my husband, we're like, our idea of vegetables was potatoes and green beans, that was the extent of it. Now we've expanded our taste buds because you can retrain your taste buds. I do eat more vegetables now, but one of the fastest ways that you can add those to your life is through juicing and smoothies. It's one of the most effective ways too, because you actually get the proper amounts of fruits and vegetables for your daily, servings that way.
Right. So Lyly, as you said, the toxicity though, even in that, like with the supplements, I took quality supplements. I didn't really pay attention to what was in them. I just knew they weren't what I'd go to the grocery store for. But then I even started looking at the labels and are they really pure? And so I've done my research. The supplement companies that I work within are pure, right? The ingredients are sourced pure, like MIG. Again, I discovered them before I even knew really what they were all about, between the collagen. And then I'm like, this is so funny because I was using, like body soap, I think it was Mary Kay or something like that. I'm like, oh, I love it. Using Pericone for my skin, loving the results, but then going, oh my gosh, again, the toxicity of what's coming in my body. So I have never used soap since I was like in college. So we're talking a long time ago.
Yeah.
If you're using bar soap, I'm like, listen, you can eat this bar soap because it's so pure. And I've turned so many people onto that because I'm like, yeah, it's a small change. I prefer a liquid, but you know what? I prefer not to have cancer. So guess what? I'll use it. And it's amazing. So, there's particular companies, people I follow. And then my goal as a coach, either to work one-on-one or to be a knowledge broker. I really consider myself, I want to share. I've done the research for years, hours, thousands of dollars into figuring all this out. And I don't want you to have to do that. I want to be able to say, hey, follow Chris' work. Like if you have cancer or want to prevent disease in general, because no matter, like he talks more than just cancer, like I said, although that's his lane, the information is spot on. He gives you the data behind it. You can research the data. And my thing is, why do I need to? I trust him. I trust his integrity behind what he puts out. I'm good with that. So that's why I follow him and I get my information on a nutritional level from him, not just him, but big time. Like I said, I'm excited about the cookbook. And yes, it to me, I don't have to love vegetables to be healthy, right? Like you can get around it. You can juice them. You can use supplements. You can do what you need. Like I said, I call it patty potion. I put literally 12 different, like between, chlorella and matcha and all these really super green, powerful ingredients in it, and it's brown, and my husband's like, ew, and I'm like, it takes me a minute to drink it, and it's so worth it, right? It's so worth it. So my goal in life is, taking this journey of 57 years and saying, listen, if I can tweak one person's life and say, listen, pay attention, your body is telling you what's going on, heal what needs to be healed before you hit that place where maybe there is no turning back, or it's too late, or in my case, I really feel like that was part of my journey to say, Patty, you're right. Life coaching is it, but I want you to go to this level to make it a whole thing. My spiritual walk was okay. It is off the charts. Again, because I realized the frailty of life when you're sitting there and I'm watching other people who are in a different position getting chemo than me. You just all of a sudden have that appreciation of, wow. I had to really work through forgiving myself for making the choices, like the guilt and shame of, wow, had I known. But we make decisions based on what we know. I knew what I knew at the time, and now I know better. So if I can reach that younger woman and say, let me shake you and tell you and give you information, and then what you do with it is really up to you.
Yeah, I mean, what you do is so valuable though, because back in 2012, when I was confronted with disease, an incurable disease that causes infertility, and after my, multiple miscarriages, etc., and here I was battling infertility, I remember thinking a couple of things. I was faced with shame when I realized that I had done it to myself, that I had been feeding this disease unbeknownst to me by the things that I was eating, by the things that I was putting on my skin, the things that just various other environmental elements, etc., where you're inhaling toxic candles, where you're cooking, etc. So there's lots of different things, but I felt so much shame. But then the other thing was, gosh, I wish I would have known. I wish somebody would have told me. They didn't have to be this way. I didn't have to go through recurring miscarriage. I didn't have to go through infertility. I didn't have to go through this disease. I didn't have to go through these things had I known. And so here we are. Yes, we've had to walk this path, and we've learned so much that we want to empower you so you don't have to go down this path.
Absolutely.
So what are some basic, I mean, I don't know if you were going to go someplace else with it, but what are some takeaways specifically with overall well-being? Because that is really what you go after. What are some things that people can take away today?
Well, number one is slow down. Slow down
Mhm.
in your life, right? I think society in general tells you got to be going, going, going. Particularly as women, I feel like that is a burden that we've carried from multiple generations, that you have to be all things to everybody. But you can't be if you're not taking care of yourself. Self-care is love, right? Love for yourself. It's love for your family, for your children, for your friends, for your community. So it starts right here, and it is okay to slow down. So that's always my first thing: slow down. Get clear is my second thing I help clients with. Is where are you in your life? What are you looking to do? What are you doing? Had that doctor in 2012 kind of pushed a little bit further, saying, listen, you either change now or this is going to be the result. She never said that. She's like, oh, change over to paleo and here's some supplements, you're good to go. Okay, so I started feeling better. Okay, so getting really clear and saying, no, I don't want this busyness, or I want this type of relationship. And when you get clear, you can then make better choices and better decisions because you're clear. Versus me, I was in a very reactionary lifestyle. Whatever happened, I reacted. Whatever happened, I reacted. There was never a moment where I'm like, oh, I got a choice here. I did it. And as you said, the shame, the guilt, I've dealt with that. I've moved it out. I've forgiven myself for it because I didn't know what I didn't know. But I am called now because I do know to share it. Slow down, get clear, prioritize, right? Again, not everything is a fire. Not everything needs to be done immediately. If you don't get to laundry one day, guess what? You have underwear for tomorrow, you're good to go, right? We stress ourselves out because of our expectations of how we should be showing up. But when you're clear, I know exactly how I want to be in the world, and I want ease and flow and peace and joy. And I want that energy around me. That's what I bring in. I have eliminated relationships from my life because they're toxic. They don't bring in what I want. So decision making becomes easier.
Mhm.
Simplify is the last part. And again, there's a lot more layers to each of these.
Sure.
Um,
Right.
simplify your environment, right? Clutter creates stress. And we have more stuff than we need. The less you have to take care of, the more time you have for self-care, for the things that are really important to you. No one is going to come in and give you permission to do self-care. It's not like this little fairy godmother is going to follow you around and say, Lyly, guess what? Take it. It doesn't happen. It happens from you. So you are 100% responsible for where you are in your life. The choices that you made, all the choices I made got me to exactly where I am now. Good, bad, or indifferent. I can look at them. I can learn from them. I can use them then moving forward. And that's where my training is. That's where I'm like, this is my purpose in life. This is why I went through everything I've gone through, good and bad, so that I can share that and impart that information with clients. I'm moving into speaking on stages and doing workshops so I can reach more people and just kind of shake you and go, you're in charge of your life. No one's going to come in and tell you what to do or not do. You get to set the boundaries and do that. And when you do, when you eliminate, when you add what you want, your life is richer, it's fuller, it is more of what I believe people are looking for. And
Yeah.
it just takes consistent habits and action. Yes, switching out your water, switching out your skincare products, choosing the salad over a cookie, right? Yeah, cookies taste great, but you know what? Trust me, I'll take the salad 10 times over the cookie because I know what each one does now. So
Yeah.
it's about choice and decision, and it's all on you. And that's a really great space to be in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I
That
would
is fantastic. It's really about finding that healthy balance in your life so that you are not a walking tick bomb, you are healthy, you are whole, you have joy, you have peace, you have, physical health and spiritual, emotional health, right? That, like the Bible says, that your physical health would prosper just as your soul prospers. And I love that you even touched on our mindsets and our heart issues and things like that, because those create toxic burden as well. Those affect our health just as much, if not more, because a lot of times we get stuck in really harmful, what do you call it, just negative mindsets that are destructive to our health. And so I just loved everything that you touched on, because it does take a wellness approach over being balanced, it's well-being for all of it, not just having healthy skin. And yes, like Patty grew her hair back with MIG collagen because it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Funny story, Patty decided for a hot minute to support another friend and buy her collagen, tried it for a few days and she was in pain again. She's like, yeah, no, I'm not going back to that. Give me my MIG collagen again. But she had to do that to realize the difference. Like, oh, this is pure and this is effective and this isn't.
Again, I always feel like I do that. And finally, the lesson is I'm not switching out, because I know what works right now. Like I said, I've spent years and I feel like I'm the tester, right? Oh, let me try this. It took me 7 different natural deodorants, right? And then I was so thankful because MIG came out with one, but until they did, it took me 7 different trials to go, oh, I like this. This isn't good. And they were clean and pure, but they left stains or they weren't effective. And so I share that with people. I'm like, this is what I use. This is why I use it. You get to do your own research, but I'm like, so yeah, like MIG just work. There are certain things that I am like, they showed up in my life from the beginning and they are still a part of my life now. If I can share, Lily, just one quick thing. Like I had a friend that I've known, over 25 years now, but about 20 years ago, like I used to watch her son and I'd see her every day. And she made the statement, she's like, you are not the same person you were when I first met you. She's like, you're not even a shell of the person you are then. And that meant so much to me, because that really means that the work I have done in all the body, right? The healing, the emotional traumas, like releasing. And I'm still a work in progress. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have my days, but I am well on my way. And I'm going to continue on this path of healing and growth. But at 57, I think that's why I'm like, oh man, if I can reach younger people, it took me till now to figure out, and that's okay. But if I can thwart that process for other people, but what a compliment from her to me, because then that just shows me that I'm living authentically. I'm living what I speak, right? I'm talking the talk and walking the walk. And that's important to me. And again, when you know that and you're coming from that place, decisions are easier, choices are easier. You're not listening to that external world chatter that's going on, that you have to be a certain way or what have you. You get to choose your life your way. And I've had the privilege of walking beside people as they do what my coaches have done for me, which is why I'm like, I'm going there, because that's clearly where my heart is. And you're one of those, Lily. So yeah, for a hot minute too, I joined MIG, right? Because I believe so much in the company, not just the products, right? Like, so last thing I'll say here is, make sure who you are attaching yourself to, right? Whether it is Lily, myself, or a Chris Wark or a Jamie Cross, right? Know who they are, because that to me is as important as what they are providing in terms of a product or a service or what have you, because I want to make sure that's in alignment with me and the people, again, that I am in alignment with. Spot on. And it's like I waver, I'm like, oh nope, right back. And I'm like, that just to me says I'm right where I need to be. So wow. I love that. I love this journey. I love all the good, the bad, and the indifferent that's gotten me right here. I wouldn't change any of it, but if I can help someone, that's what I desire to do.
I love that. I love that so much. And we should be going from glory to glory. We should be changing. We shouldn't be stuck where we were 20 years ago. You should be evolving as a human being, becoming wiser in your ways, And one of the takeaways that I would tell everybody who's watching is that there is, like she said, there is no one who is going to take the reins for you, and you're not going to have this little fairy telling you do this, do that. You have to take power in your own decisions. When you go to the stores and you're going grocery shopping, or you're buying toiletry, skincare, whatever it is, guess what? Just because it's on the shelf doesn't make it safe. In fact, if you haven't seen the documentary series Not So Pretty, you really need to. If you're like, I don't have HBO Max, watch it in here in this group. I have given reviews for every single episode. You need to become an informed consumer, because so much of what is in our shelves, whether it's groceries or topicals, so much of it is poisoning your body. So, and no one's going to, those companies are not going to stop you. They're not going to tell you, oh, by the way, we're poisoning you. No, they want you to spend the money so that they can get richer. You need to become an informed consumer. And so you're a powerful human being. Okay. So you need to act like it. I'm a powerful grown-up. I can make my own decisions, and I will take back power in my health. I'm not going to allow the white coats or the whatever, to dictate the steps that I take in my life. You do that for yourself. And of course, with the leading of the Lord. But yeah, so just want to empower you to go out and do the right thing for your overall well-being, for a balanced life, so you can thrive.
Amen, girlfriend. That's exactly. And like I said, I don't want them to have to go through what you went through or what I went through to get that lesson. They may, but if we can help impart, like you said, I wish someone would have told me. Well, there are people out there like us that are starting to speak and share and give you the information you need. And if you can't find them, reach out to Lyly, reach out to someone and say, I don't know where to go. This is what I'm looking for. It's not, if you're not aligned with me, I'm not going to work with you, but I would certainly send you to a different coach or a different person that I know is more in alignment with what you need, because I'm serving you. It's about you. And like you said, Lyly, not everybody is coming from that place, and that's okay, and they'll do their thing. But for this, you need to be informed, you need to be empowered, and you need to know it's on you. And wow, what an amazing space to live your life from. It really is.
Absolutely. And so we're here to serve you. We are, again, knowledge brokers. You're not going to get everything from us. But for the people who would like to know more about what you're doing, how can they come into your world? How would they go about getting in touch with you?
Awesome. Thank you. Right now, I have a website. It's pattybsloan.com. I'm in the throes of reworking it, but head out there. It'll kind of give you a basic information. I'm on Instagram, same handle, Patty B. Sloan. I do a lot on Instagram, probably more than on Facebook, but in Facebook, it's also my business page is Patty B. Sloan, or Patty Sloan is my personal. I do have a group called Becoming, and I do a lot more personal things, like a lot more coaching within that private space. It's a free private group, but I'd love anybody who wants to join. That's where I give tips and a little bit of techniques and tools. I don't coach you per se, but I go in and just have a conversation. I bring in experts that I feel can help add value to your life in different fields. Because again, I'm about that. I don't know everything, so I'm going to share who does. So yeah, reach out to me in those spaces. Like I said, those are the easiest ways. And if they want to have a discovery call, we'll set that up. And if they're like, I don't know what to do, that's what the discovery call is all about. And I love it. Like I said, it's my passion, and I'm going to do this until the good Lord says you're done serving the way I need you to serve.
That's right. That's right. So we're going to get you all of those links wherever you're at. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, if you want to join her more intimate group setting, we'll drop those in the comments below. So be on the lookout for that. And Patty is amazing. I wouldn't have her here sharing with you if I didn't believe that she's in alignment with my vision for how to empower you to make better choices for your life and for your health. So thank you so much for being with us, Patty. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll talk later.
Thank you so much.